Everything is gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Good morning and welcome to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. We are here in the studio at Awesome Radio 106.9 WBISLP. And we're going to give you the call in number because we sure you want to join this conversation with us for this next hour. And the number is 252-756-2008. And good morning, Calvin. And how are you today?
I'm doing great, Renee. It's been a great day and a great weekend.
Okay. And we're going to tell what we did on our exciting weekend. We know our listeners know that you never know where Renee and Calvin are going to show up because we love to travel and we did some of that this weekend. And so why don't we just start with that and then we'll go into the COVID update.
Very good. Okay. I get right into it. You know, we were at this Friday, we went to Jacksonville, North Carolina. Most people, when you say Jacksonville, you think of Florida, but we have a great city right here in North Carolina called Jacksonville. And what is there is the Marine base. You know, the Marine base, well, we're going to talk about the first Marine base there in Jacksonville. It was called Montfort Point Marines. And they were the first ones to integrate the Marines back in 1941. So that gives you a lot of history right there. But most importantly, they had a grand reopening of the museum. And I suggest everyone, whether you're military or not, whether you're Marines, Army, doesn't matter, should go and visit this museum. It is fantastic.
And the whole thing is that we, as we get older and we start to lose our families, our seniors, the younger people have no idea, Calvin, the struggles that people, particularly we're talking about Black people, had to endure in this country. And one of the things is that we know that we love our country, we Americans, Black who are here, but our country doesn't necessarily love us back. So back in 1941, I'm not sure the president, but Roosevelt, what he did was that he said, you have to, the Marines, you have to integrate and let Blacks come into the Marines. So they did that. However, they were not allowed to integrate. So it was a segregated Marines that went from 1941 to 1948. And the history, the pictures, the uniforms, there was so much memorabilia there. And this is another part of the American history that they don't want to be taught. The contributions that were made to save America by these people who fought in World War II. And not only were they Black Marines, but they were Black people in the Army, Black people in the Air Force, Black people in the Navy. But we don't know the contributions that have been made by Black people in this country because, again, that's part of the history that they don't want to be taught. But an exciting weekend. We had, well, it was my uncle. He was a Marine. He's 95 right now. And if you go to my Facebook page, you're going to see a lot of history, a lot of just great time. So we were able to spend time with my uncle, and also my cousin, his daughter, who invited us, her husband, that's Sarah. I guess she doesn't mind if I mention it. Sarah Parros. My uncle's name is Leo Parros. And just great weekend. His granddaughter was there who took a lot of his attention, but I was finally able to get to get him to myself and just forgot that it was just great. And what I want to do is, Calvin, if I can find it, um, my cousin's husband, he what he did was that he did a little write up on it, on how it was for him, how this weekend was for him. And I just want to,
Well, while you're looking for that, Renee, let me just give them some information because it's not exactly in Camp Lejeune. It's right outside of Camp Lejeune, and it's at Camp Johnson. That's the new name for the Montfort Point Marine Base there. Because the first name was the Montfort Point Marines, but then they ended up changing the name back in 1949. They changed the name to Camp Johnson. So that's the big difference there. But the main issue is, you know, we have so many black individuals, black Marines that was there, and they went through hard times because they didn't want them there, but they did a great job in the Marines during that time.
okay, so what my cousin-in-law wrote, he and this is how he felt after visiting the museum, and he says it was extremely interesting Black history, but we're going to call it Black American history. We are just returning from a huge celebration for some U.S. heroes. My father in law, who is 95, that's my uncle, and was a part of the very first group of Black men ever allowed into the U.S. Marine Corps. They were known as the Montfort Point Marines, 1942 to 1949. He is a Congressional Gold Medal of Honor recipient. In June 1941, President Roosevelt had opened the Marine Corps to African Americans. The commandant of the commandant of the Marine Corps, Major General Holcomb, declared that blacks had no place in the Marines he headed. If it were a question of having Marine Corps 5,000 whites or 250,000 Negroes, he said, I would rather have the whites. The first black recruits received basic training at the segregated camp Montfort Point in Jacksonville, North Carolina. The first Black Marines were housed in prefabricated mosquito infested huts, while white soldiers had fully functional facilities. The railroad tracks divided white Marines from the camp for African American troops, and the Black recruits were not allowed to ever enter the main base of nearby Camp Lejeune unless accompanied by a white Marine. During World War II, many of the Black Marines said that the German POWs were treated better than them. German POWs were allowed to enter through front doors, but Black soldiers still had to enter through the back. German POWs could eat where Black soldiers could not. More than 20,000 men were trained at Montfort Point. After the returning home from the World War II, the first thing they heard as they stepped foot off the base in their sharp U.S. Marine uniforms and loaded on on the civilian travel buses to travel home to their families was all your get to the back of the bus. So in July 1948, President Truman finally signed the Executive Order 9981, which recognized the desegregation of military in 1949. Montfort Point was deactivated. And it just goes on. It just, I mean, such great history, someone's interpretation. And what we're just saying was that we felt so honored to know and to become aware of a history that that is not going to, that they don't want told. So we're going to bring our grandchildren there again. The pictures, and they're so good. They took such great pictures, and they have them displayed there in the museum. And again, if you go to my Facebook page, you're going to see me there hugging up my uncle, being with my cousins and my husband, and just having a wonderful time this weekend. So enough on that, right?
Well, well, you're right, Renee. But the thing is, we want you to understand the importance of our veterans. Because so many times when I say we now, I'm talking about the blacks veterans. We go into the military, then we come back, and there was a time, even up to the Vietnam era, where veterans would come home and we couldn't go into certain restaurants. We couldn't do certain things. But at least today, it's a little better. You know, I won't say it's 100% better, but it's a little better. And the thing is, we want everyone to go and see this museum. I think it's worthwhile to go and see it.
Okay. So, meanwhile, back here with the um, COVID 19, the virus, again, now it is picking up. People are now getting tested. And the thing, Calvin, is that how many we had 19 new cases
19 new cases
here
in Pitt County.
in Pitt County. And sometimes, I guess now with this new variant, it's called the was it the B2, the B2 yeah, the B21617.2, the Delta variant. What they're saying is that you don't know if you're having a cold. You can't tell if you're having allergies. Um, it's all colliding and all mixing up. And what's happening is that we don't even know, Calvin, the real true numbers, because with all those home kits, people are testing. They're not. They're not really being recorded or getting updated.
And that is so important. When you do that home kit, well, you're not, like you say, Renee, you're not being tested. However, you know, if you feel that you are coming down with something, you should go and get tested through the Board of Health or through Viten, because that way it's recorded. And if you get sick really bad, then you can go and get it taken care of, versus waiting till you get tested at home. And then in the meantime, you also infecting everybody else in your home.
Okay, so moving right along, we're going to also speak about we're going to talk about food insecurity or food security and what it means. And we're also going to talk about our democracy. Right now, Calvin, early voting is going on across the country in a lot of states. And just want to also mention that food that we it's how important it is to go out and vote. So that if you have a primary going on in your town, it's important that number one, you educate yourself on the vote, on who to vote for. You go and with a plan. You just don't walk up and go into the early voting sites and not have a plan of who you're going to vote for, who's on the ballot, and also checking your voter status. It's important that we understand that they're knocking a lot of people off and making them inactive. So even though you might have registered or you've been voting every year, it doesn't mean that the plan is to knock as many African Americans off the voting roster. So we're going to ask that you make a plan. Um, you don't go by yourself. Try to take as many people as you can to the voting early voting sites with yourself. I'm going to be printing out the sheets because we do go as a family here. We go with our children, and now we're going to have our grandson who turned 18. We're going to make sure that he registers and he's part of that family that we go together to vote. So, Calvin, you have anything to say on early voting?
Well, early voting is, again, it's just so important. We always say, on news and politics with Renee Boston Hill, that you should vote. You have to vote. If you don't vote, you can't complain about the results. If you don't vote, then you can't say, well, I dislike this, dislike that. But if you vote, at least you have a voice, and what's going on. But every vote, Pitt County, I can remember when someone won an election by one vote, Just think about that. One vote. And if that one person hadn't voted, then it would have been a tie. Then it would have had to go all over again. So that's why every single vote counts. If you're 18 years old, make sure that you're registered and talk to your parents. Ask them, did I register? If you have a driver's license, if you're going to go get your driver's license, you can register right at the DMV. Make sure that you register and make sure that you vote. Voting on early voting can determine an election right then and there. If you turn on your TV, you're going to see a lot of people up there, excuse me, talking about vote for me. Instead of just voting for them because they're on TV, check their report card out, see what they've done. And if you like what they've done, vote for them. If you don't vote for them.
Okay. And so, in addition to that, it's important that we understand that our democracy is on that ballot, that you have to understand that President Biden's agenda is not being supported by all of Congress. At this time, the only way that he's able to pass things through is through the Democratic Party and through that process. So, not, I mean, I think for the infrastructure bill, there might have been two or three Republicans that voted. However, the infrastructure bill has impact on the whole country. And even though they didn't vote for it, they're the first ones going back to their constituents and saying, look what I have given to you. But it's important that we know that the Build Back Better bill did not pass. We have people who are still fighting against the agenda that President Biden is trying to push forward that would make a difference in our lives. He's trying to push for minimum wages of $15, but certain group of people are not doing it. The insurrection, we're not going to stop talking about the insurrection because there are people on the ballot who supported the insurrection. They're still talking about the lie that President Biden didn't win, and that Trump actually won. He did not win the 2020 presidential election. It was won by President Biden, and it's so important that we understand that. And what we have here also is that there were 147 Republicans that did not vote to certify the elections. And here in North Carolina, we have we have the people, and I have the report card of the people who did not want to certify the elections who are here in North Carolina. And those people, and I need that if you're going to vote for them again, do your homework. Check out where they're standing right now and what they're saying. What are they saying? How did their voice change in 1 year so that they can convince you to vote for them again when they actually supported the insurrection? And this is coming out now, that the names of the congressional people who were actually part of the plan for the insurrection. It wasn't something that people just decided to show up in Washington, in the Capitol at that time. This was a plan coup, plan insurrection, and we need to make sure that people who are in place, that they hold these people responsible, because our democracy is on the ballot. Did I say our democracy is on the ballot? And the names of those people, Richard Hudson, he's a representative. He did not vote to certify the election. The others were Rep. Virginia Fox, David Rouser, Greg Murphy, Madison Cawthorn, Ted Budd, and Dan Bishop. These are the people from North Carolina. And I suggest that all the other states that are at the sound of my voice find out which one of your representatives supported the insurrection. Continue to push the lie.
That lie it's a cult. That's the way I see it. I call anyone that was involved with that insurrection was in the cult, and individuals that did not vote for it, they're part of the cult. Whether I don't care if you're a senator, I don't care where you stay in the election, as far as a senator or a congressman, a congresswoman, wherever. If you didn't vote for it, then you're part of the cause. That's the way I see it. And you're continuing the lie. You have people, and this is why I don't understand, Renee, and maybe you can explain it to me, but we're going to talk about that after the break.
Okay, news and politics, Awesome Radio. We'll be right
back.
Are
you ready for a new career? Victra is the largest independent retailer for one of the nation's largest cellular providers. And Victra's contact center is hoping to interview you and offer you a job. Get ready. Victra is holding a 2-day hiring event at the Greenville Convention Center on Tuesday, May 3rd and Wednesday, May 4th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Victra has open positions for customer care representatives, as well as sales representatives for consumer and business sales. Benefits include incredible commission potential, paid face-to-face training, medical, dental, vision, paid time off, a 50% discount on your wireless bill, access to wages prior to payday, and 401k matching. Visit pit-jobs.com or search Victra Contact Center on Facebook for info about the hiring event on May 3rd and 4th. Bring your resume and dress for success. Victra will be conducting interviews and offering jobs on Tuesday, May 3rd and Wednesday, May 4th at the Greenville Convention Center. Go to pit-jobs.com for more info.
Hi, this is Coach Vernon Garrison. You're listening to Awesome Radio, WBIS LP 106.9.
Good morning, and welcome back to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. We are here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM, and if you care to join the conversation, perhaps you might want to talk about voting, you might want to talk about the COVID. Please, and we are going to encourage people, wear your mask, particularly when you are inside. When you're inside, like a store or and you don't know the people who are around you. This virus is something that will take you out. There's an uptick of it right now, and it's important that you wear your mask. If you're going voting, bring your mask. You don't want to be around people who are maskless, particularly if you don't know them.
Well, not only that, Renee, but you talk about this COVID-19. We are also encouraging individuals to get that booster shot. That booster shot is so important. And now they're talking about a second booster. We got the first one, and I'm sure somewhere down the road, we're going to get that second booster.
Yes, we're going to get it. We're going to schedule for it because it's important that we protect ourselves. Calvin and I, we still have a lot of wind.
Beneath our will, you're right.
And we're traveling, we're moving, and this is what it is. You have got to learn to live with COVID. However, you have got to be the person who monitors and takes care of yourself, and you protect yourself. I'm not going to rely on Calvin to say, well, Renee, did you put your mask on? No, I'm going to have my mask on. I don't need for him because I care that much about myself that I want to stay protected. So,
well, I just want to bring up one thing, Renee, which I think is so important. We have a now he's 7 years old, our grandson, and we were taking him with us, or we keep him sometimes. We were going into the store, and we got out of the car. Renee put her mask on. I put my mask on, and he right away said, "Where's my mask?" That he was observant of that because he know that we wear a mask, and he wanted to make sure that he protect himself. So it's so important that our children wear the mask.
Okay, and then also we're going to talk about Ukraine. We're going to speak on the immigration policy that is not being fair to all people. And there's also something about the Title 42, which was an immigration policy that was put in place by Trump. and it's scheduled to expire. And when it expires, then it's going to, the people that was being held at the border and not allowed to come over to be processed here in America because they felt that they might have the virus. So I do know that Ukraine, and again, the president is spending a lot of money. Some people are supporting what it is that he's doing. I support fighting for democracy because our democracy, again, is at stake here in this country. We have actual people who are supporting in this country verbally, loudly, just like how they supported the insurrection. They are supporting what Putin is doing to Ukraine. And again, if they take Ukraine, it doesn't mean that they're going to stop there. And we have to understand that people and candidates, when they speak on supporting Putin and what he's doing in Ukraine, then they're supporting and, and knocking down our democracy here in this country. So again, listen to these candidates, know their history, know what they are about, know that President Biden is trying to fix things. I know that he has not done the student loan amount. I'm looking for that dollar amount to come out because it has a great impact on our country and our community. The other thing that he's working on is the and he put in place is the appraisal, the homeowners. So he's doing a lot of things and he's all over the place, but it's important that he understands what our issues are. Is that if you're bringing in 100,000 Ukrainians who were prejudiced to the Africans who were there in their country when they were being educated there, and it was time for them to leave for their safety, and they were not allowed at first to even get on the trains and the buses. And when they showed up in Poland at the border, Poland didn't want to let them in. They didn't want. So here it is now. We have these people who are known for their racism to Africans, to Black people, because we're all Black. Now they're going to be here. And then now we have the Haitian community who left Brazil because they were losing jobs based on the pandemic, and they were at the Texas border. They were being corralled up as with horses and whips. And I'm saying we need to make sure that all people have an opportunity. If they can find space for 100,000 Ukrainians, well, they definitely can stop sending Haitians back that have nothing to go back to and allow them into this country. In addition to that, they need to stop segregating against the Hispanic community, wherever they're coming from. We have to have a fair immigration policy. And this is something that we need to speak on and need to make sure that people understand where we're coming from. Fair immigration. You let 100,000 Ukrainians in, then let 100,000 and find places for them. Get them. Now they're going to get housing. They're going to get loans. They're going to get food stamps. They're going to get everything that they need. But meanwhile, you have food insecurities. The Build Back Better, that plan had given 300 to 250 a month for children, for children, all children under a certain age. Now they took that away and we can't even get that back. And now it has thrown so many children back into poverty. You don't understand that am I the only one, Calvin, who was thinking about these things? Am I the only one who's talking about it? Open your eyes, America, and see what is happening, because your vote is democracy on the table. We need to have our voices heard. And right now, the only way your voice is going to be heard is at the ballot box. And if there's something going on, if a lawmaker is in place that is doing things that are not to your liking, why are you voting them back in?
Well, Renee, I just want to, you mentioned appraisals, but you just went right over it. I want to bring it back a little bit and talk about appraisals, because what happened, Black folks, brown folks, when we get our property appraised, it's lower than the same property that the Caucasian or the white people have. So, and this is something that Biden was talking about. We need to make sure that the appraisals come back for every. Why is it that if a Black person going to sell their home, they have to take their pictures off the wall, you know, and that to me shouldn't happen, but it does. And it happens every single day that when we sell our property, we got to make it look like, you know, white folks live there. We shouldn't have to do that. We should be able to sell it for the same price, because if someone have property that's just like, for instance, I'm going to use this as an example, not factual, but if my house is the same house as the one across the street and it's just the same, then why is it that their house is more valuable than mine? Why is it that their taxes are different than mine? This is what we're talking about.
All right. And then the whole part of it is our wealth. Okay. Sometimes the only value or assets that we have are our homes. And when it comes time to selling our homes, we need to make sure and we need to speak up. I remember that we were refinancing some years back. And I mean, I can't even, I'm embarrassed by some of the things that happened to us. But when the appraiser came into our home, and I said, I'm trying to understand how we had a certain amount of square footage on our house, and it has just, some of it has disappeared. He says, well, this is how we do things. I said, well, did you just started doing this thing? And I went off. I said, I'm sick and tired of, and of course it was a white appraiser because there are very few Black appraisers. And that's one of the things, again, President Biden is putting in place to get training so we can have more Black appraisers. But anyway, I told him I've had enough. I was reporting him. I said I was going to report the people who sold us this house. I said, because it's a joke as to what happened. And I said, I need to have, so he actually said, you know, when I started speaking up and saying how this is how you white people steal our value and our money, he says, well, how much money do you want this house to appraise for? He gave me the amount that I wanted for my refinance. So we're news and politics today at Awesome Radio. We're coming up for another break.
Partial funding for this program is brought to you by CT Cleaning Service, 919-345-5823. Nationally certified and bonded for COVID cleaning, commercial and residential, and for all general cleaning. CT Cleaning Service, 919-345-5823. Have a peace of mind that your place of worship, your office building, your home, and your place of work have been nationally certified COVID cleaned, disinfected, and sanitized. 919-345-5823. Thank you, CT Cleaning, for your support.
Hi, I'm Travorce Newton, and I listen to Awesome Radio 106.9 FM, WBIS.
All right. Ooh, yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah. Here we go, y'all. Sing a little message out to those of y'all who feel like you're struggling.
And welcome back to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Borston Hill. We are here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM. And one of the things that I don't know if you know about it, but I pay attention to certain things. I listen with that third ear. I look with that third eye, and I want to alert y'all. And when I speak about our democracy is on the ballot and how we have to look at these candidates and what is their history, it is something that I really feel and that you need to know. And the other thing that we are going to speak about and keep talking on every show is food insecurity. And just to let you know what is food insecurity, it's the condition of not having access to sufficient food or food of adequate quality to meet one's basic need. And more than 800 million people live every day with hunger or food insecurity as their constant companion. So I didn't know that Russia and Ukraine, they're one of the largest producers of wheat. And Ukraine, they supply Africa with a lot of the wheat. They have donations going on. They have special programs where Ukraine will send wheat for consumption in Africa. Now, what the Russians have done in Ukraine is that they have put mines in the fields where the wheat is being grown. So that means that the farmers cannot harvest the wheat to send it out to various places. So that means that we are going to have to maybe up our way of producing wheat to make sure that there's enough to go around the world. Now, maybe you don't know this. I don't know how I know it, but in Sudan and Ethiopia, there's a civil war that is still going on. And however, over there in that country, people are dying like thousands and thousands a day because of starvation. And we need to know this. Okay, we need to be able to understand that maybe it was China and Europe that first had this new variant. China was being locked down, and they're still locked down because they're trying to control this virus. Well, now the virus is over here, and now our numbers are starting to go up. So when food insecurity start to happen over there in other countries, we can't act like it's not our business. It is going to be our business because there's going to be a trickling effect. And so, how do we prepare ourselves for a food insecurity? What do we do to make sure that we educated about it, so that when the time comes, just like how there was no toilet paper at one time, there was people were buying up a lot of stuff. It's time that you start to prepare your pantries. And this is a time like Calvin and I were doing our gardens. I'm planting beans because beans are protein. I can't plant meat. I can't have a cow or a goat or anything in my backyard, but it doesn't mean that I can't do something that is going to make sure that I I have a future with my food. And there are different organizations that are out there that are helping you to understand and supply you with the proper foods that you need. So as time goes on, we're going to start speaking more about food insecurity. Don't sleep. You know, don't think that this is not going to be in your back door, because it will. Our democracy is at stake right now. No, go and vote. Your vote is what's going to save us in this country. Don't think and don't go with the misinformation. Educate yourself, your family, and know what you need to know.
Well, not only that, Renee, but when you think about it, you think about all these fast food restaurants that always popping up. Well, how many of them pop up in the rural areas, in the poor areas, and how many pop up in the influential areas? You don't see them over there. You see them in the poor areas. You see them, in the rural areas. This is where, because and that food is really, they don't have the calories that we need. And then you talk about farmers. Well, Renee, farming is a big deal. However, a lot of people might not be aware of this, but China is buying up a lot of the big farms here in the United States. Now, ask me, what are they growing on those farms? Nothing. They're just keeping them. So I don't know why they're even buying them, but to not grow anything on them. So again, this is something that you have to look at and you have to investigate. Why is it that, like I say, China wanting to buy all these big farms and don't grow anything on it? Because now that means that we're going to have to start buying more meats, more poultry, more dairy, all that different stuff that we buy now from China is because we can't and don't grow it here in the United States anymore.
Well, and again, this is not a joke. This is not something that to take lightly, because we should be very concerned that in Africa, that the basics that they need to survive, and they're not getting it. Then should we care about that? I think we should care. I think we should care about what is going on in this world. We should be able to have a conversation, and not just conversation, but we should be able to have some action, or find out what can we do to make this world better. And all I'm saying again is that stay woke, stay informed, and stay educated. And that's what we need to do. And we need to be able to have a conversation. And not just conversation, but we should be able to have some action, or find out what can we do to make this world better. And all I'm saying again is that stay woke, stay informed, and stay educated. And that's what we need to do. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Stay woke and have a plan. Plan so that you do not come in the end and not be prepared for the upcoming. Don't believe the misinformation that is out there. I'm already getting stuff on my Facebook page telling me and giving me misinformation. I don't know why they're singling me out, Calvin,
They're not
but
just singling you out, Renee.
but well, I'm aware of it. That
Yes.
how did this person? I don't know this person. Why are they even sending me a message? And the message is that again, it's misinformation telling you maybe that your vote doesn't count, telling you don't worry about this, and meanwhile, it's a subliminal message that is coming to you to make you and to take you off your plan of how it is you're going to be moving your family and yourself ahead. So again, if you don't know the person who's giving you a message, don't read it. Or if you read it, just understand that it's probably going to be misinformation to get you off your track. Call us at 252-756-2008. Perhaps maybe you know what I'm speaking about. Perhaps maybe while I'm talking about food insecurity, you just Googled it. Um, Maybe you know something about Sudan and Ethiopia and all the other African countries. But remember, these people need help. Okay, maybe they need to be, because if you're dying from hunger and you're dying from a war, it's all everything is killing us. So you can bring 100,000 Ukrainians here. They don't have to go through the border. The planes are coming directly here to America. Then you can go and get people um, and bring them and give them security also from Africa, from Haiti, from what's some of the Spanish places, Venezuela,
Venezuela, Colombia.
Colombia.
And
You can-
and that's the thing too, Renee, is the fact that we always talking about well right now the last couple of months we've been talking about Ukraine. Okay, however, Africa is going through a civil war, and Egypt. People look at Egypt and say, well, they don't think of it as being part of Africa, but it's part of Africa. And when you listen to the news, all you hear about is Ukraine war over there in Russia. But we need to let these major news people listen and talk about what is going on over in Africa, because Black folks, in my opinion, is just as important as the people in Ukraine.
and yes, and they are. We're all important. Okay. And again, I understand why it's important for Ukraine to win this war over Russia, because we don't want the dictatorship that is going on in Russia and also expanding into other countries. We don't want that here. And so there are so many people, they'll get in office and they think they're supposed to stay there forever. And that's not a democracy. And the last thing that we need is to have anybody who is thinking about a president who caused an insurrection, all right, who's still walking around, still spreading the lie. We do not want that back in our White House. That will not benefit us at all.
Well, not only do we not want that back, Renee, but I don't understand how he's still going out, making money. He's still making a lot of money, because every time he goes to these events, well, they're taking up collections for him. And that's millions and millions of dollars that he's collecting. And what is he going to do with it? I have no idea. Maybe he's going to use it to pay that $10,000 a day a fine that the New York AG have placed on him.
Well, okay. I don't know. I mean, where do we go from here? I just know that wear your mask. If you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated, because it's a proof that it works. If you got your 2 shots, go get your booster. If you got your 2 shots, your booster, then get the next booster. Because as time goes on, we don't know the effects of the war that's going on in Ukraine. We don't know, and it's already having a rippling effect, Calvin, because the gas prices had gone down, but over this weekend they raised the gas prices again. Okay. Inflation is not going anywhere. All right. It's here. We have to deal with it. However, the impact that it has on certain communities, poor communities, middle class communities, it's not the same effect that it has on the rich. All right. The rich people here, which is a few people, and there's so many of us, we can't get decent wages. We can't get them to pass $15 an hour. We can't get the Congress. We have people in Congress who are part of the non-functional body. And if they are not voting, and if they're not creating, if they're not part of the process that can make life better for people, then why are they there? I need to know that if you are in Congress, we voted to send you there, and then you're just sitting there and you're not making, and you're criticizing everything or voting against or not voting to make life better for people, then why are we sending them there, and why are they there? They make money. They have a salary, and the salary should not be paid if they cannot vote one way or the other. Let us know where you stand.
Well, you're so right. The thing too is what I find out, Renee, is that people that get elected, they are mostly, I'm not gonna say all, but a lot of them are not leaders, they're followers. And what I mean by that is they're supposed to follow the direction or the information or the votes that their congregation want them to do. See, I just dropped that off to y'all because it is just so important. When an individual go to and they get elected, I'll say they get elected Congress or Senate, well, they're there not to do their own thoughts or ideas. They're there to represent the congregation or the voters that sent them there. And a lot of times, once they get there, though, they do their own thing. They want the prestige. They want the money that they can get from different lobbyists, So again, that's what we want you to do. We want you to make sure that you check the report card of the individuals that's already in office. And if they're running for the first time, Google them, see what they're all about. Because sometimes what they say, if they go to for instance, I'll give you an example. If they go to your church, they're going to say one thing. Then they go to my church, they're going to say what they think that my church want to hear. So you got to be straight with us. I'm talking to the politicians now. You got to be straight with us. Don't change once you get into office. Stay the same route. Don't go there and then get on a different road.
And then also, it's important that we understand that there's a conversation that is out there that can maybe say to you, well, I don't need to vote because if we have a Democratic president, when the midterm elections come, then it's going to be, if he has a Democratic heavily populated Congress, that when the midterm elections come, then it's going to change, and then he's going to have even less cooperation when he's trying to push his agenda. So the question is now, well, should I go vote when they already said that the midterms, the whole Congress is going to flip? Yes, you need to vote because that's a lie. That's a misconception that they want to put out there to discourage people from voting. Every vote counts. You need to make sure that your vote counts because you voted. And we just need to make sure that it won't, if you don't vote and things are not going the way that you want them to go, then it's your fault. And just understand the municipal elections are just as important as the presidential. As a matter of fact, the municipal elections are more important, okay, because they are the ones that are directly in your pocket and your funding. It's your commissioners that determine how much money goes to your city, and it's your mayor who and that whole city council that creates a budget. And if you're not there and you're not part of this conversation, well, then they'll spend the money any kind of way that they want. And as they push to get rid of public education, as they push to get rid of health care that can make a difference in our lives, then it's important that you let them know that no, don't close down this clinic. No, don't close down this hospital. We need to have these things moving, and it should not only just be for profit. We need to have nonprofit things so that it can have a fair effect on all people. And I just want to say, I'm not sure the break will be coming up or we'll be ending our show. And we just want to thank you, listeners, for some of you who made conversations, took the time to say good morning to us. I want to thank you all for your listening, but don't let the conversations that we've had this morning between Calvin and myself and you, the listeners, don't let it stop there. Carry this on until we're back next week, Monday at 10 o'clock. We don't know what's going to happen in the week that we're gone, but this is News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. We are here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM. And we just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. And again, we're going to continue talking until we end the show.
Well, I just want to say, go and vote. You can go out right now and vote. You can register and vote. Get that vote done. Don't wait till the last day, because then there might be lines. We don't want lines. We don't want no issues. We want everybody, as many as you can, to go out and vote this week.
Okay, so vote. Our democracy is on the ballot. Do not let early voting go by. Take somebody with you. Find out if your neighbor needs help to get there. Just go and vote. Vote, bring your family. Anyone 18, you can vote. If you're not registered, you can go early voting and register. Early voting will soon be over, and the primary is going to be held May 17th. So we're encouraging you to get out and to vote, and also to know that that we will be voting. We haven't voted yet, but
we're going to vote this week.
But we have a plan, and we have to just get it together with our working family and know when we all can go again together. And we're going to vote. And we're going to know who we're voting for. We're going to educate ourselves. And if my quality of life has not improved with an incumbent coming back and asking for my vote, I'm not going to give him my vote. I'm going to give the person my vote who has made a difference and looking to make a difference in my life.
And that is so important. That's why we always say, check the report card out for the individuals that have been in office. Because if you have issues and you call them and they don't call you back, why put them back in office? If they call you back, then that's a different story. But if you call, you say for a city council person, you call them and then they don't call you back, then I should say to you, don't vote for them. I don't care who they are. Do not vote for them. Try somebody new. That's the best way to do it.
And just try someone new who is for pro-democracy. They are not going around supporting Putin. But again, we'll see you next week, 10 o'clock, Awesome Radio. Thank you.